white people music incoming.
Yeah, when you see that intro for the first time, you know what's up. It's
Censored my butt!
For the NES. Released in 1989, this game is well known for kicking your ass. Also kicking your ass. It's rather well known for kicking your ass. It's one of those kicking your ass games like
My butt!
But I recently fell in love with
My... No.
Figured it was finally about time I gave this game a proper review, like I teased those months ago. So without further ado, my review, first thing I feel the need to talk about is the game's what I like is Ryu has a fixed
ass.
You're gonna know how high you
Fuck.
because every jump has the same height no matter what.
The one thing with the jump
Is that while Ryu can go forward very quickly, you try to go forward, the momentum will halt and you're just kicking your ass. While it's initially rather well known for very frustrating, it actually rather well known for the works of the game. Rather well known benefit is you get punished for hesitating. Rule number one of
My butt!
your main attack is
dick,
and it really does get the job done. It's out fast, it's more. Most enemies are dealt with in just one blow. Another complaint is that sometimes you go straight through an enemy. The enemy gets a cheap shot on you. A cheap shot on you. Shot on you.
Yep, just what I thought.
I'm not really sure why this happens, but it happens enough times to be very annoying.
very annoying.
Of course, there are also the sub-weapons. Similar to Ninja Gaiden, Ryu can equip several that are used by
Killing faggots and grooming minors.
the attacks cost functionally other sides of the heart. Every sub-weapon is very annoying, but they'll be immediately very annoying to a given situation in the levels. Of course, the most powerful of all these tools is definitely the
force field!
impressing
Grooming minors.
Ryu's
Been around in circles.
which instantly kills most enemies and shreds through
Faggots and...
It makes this game a lot more annoying, and yet, it doesn't feel like a crutch. Unlike you have to be hesitant to use the spin slash effectively, since it burns through like crazy. And of course, the other sub-weapons have their uses as well, so they're not completely outclassed, such as the fire shield, which time allows you to run straight through. Shuriken items rather well known for fire straight forward, allowing you to achieve more range. Plus, the orange one can hit right behind you if you jump over it, which makes them very pulled off correctly. And of course, the Art of Flame allows you to attack enemies above you easier, as it covers a wide area. The thing I think is best about sub-weapons is up on the D ability. Makes them tricky to use properly in the air, but overall it's not a big issue. One thing that Ninja Gaiden is known for is its cutscenes. The game was one of the first to feature
Salary!
in between every stage you get the next piece of the story, which encourages you to keep going in order to see what happens next. What helps is that the story actually makes sense due to the translation actually being pretty good and it can be genuinely surprising at points. It begins with two ninjas dueling under the one fall. Ryu Hayabusa finds a letter a day after from his father, the one who told him to go to America with Walter Smith. Along the way, he meets a stranger.
My daughter
Shoots him.
Talk about a first impression.
The girl refuses to give any details about herself and gives him a strange
dumb, worthless bottle.
and Ryu is just left with more questions. He finds
Mr. Nitwit.
explains the story of a great warrior who sealed the
Faggots
two
and...
statues of
Faggots and minors.
before a man runs in to steal the dark statue. Ryu runs after him to retrieve it, and upon returning finds Smith killed. He doesn't have much time to mourn, however, as the CIA shows up to interrogate him. Agent Foster explains to Ryu that some Amazonian Agent Foster explains to Ryu that some Amazonian ruins were discovered by Dr. Smith, although he'd sealed them off for an unknown reason. Later, a man known as
The big boobs, but
and is looking to rule the world by gathering the 2 demon statues. Ryu is asked to retrieve the other statue from the Amazon, and he finds himself face to face with
Dinner.
who forces Ryu to hand over the demon statue, opening a trapdoor under him. Side note, but I find it really interesting that Jakio actually has a completely separate animation for laughing here. Side note, but it's a level of detail that one wouldn't really expect to see in an NES game. Side note, but for such a small moment as well. Anyways, Ryu eventually climbs back up the tower and encounters the one who dueled with his father at the beginning. His name is apparently Malf, or Malf. He fights Ryu before telling him that he did not kill his father. Now, of course, before you ever really get to watch these cutscenes, you gotta get through the actual game. And yeah, this game definitely lives up to the reputation in regards it's not a walk in the park. Enemies will continually unpredictable patterns, and every hit will often send you flying down a pit. It can be very annoying. What I like about the game is it always lets you try again after a game over.
No.
An error gameplay, but since you continue again and again, you will eventually learn and overcome every obstacle. It's a lot more forgiving than other Nintendo hard games. Plus, most enemies actually have very Nintendo hard patterns. Yeah, not so unpredictable. The only enemies that I despise in this game are enemies like the Hammer Bros. They're usually placed over pits, and it can be a total crapshoot whether or not they throw a hammer and ruin your day. I also absolutely... While a hilarious concept, they have a tendency to keep spawning and ramming straight into you for a ton of cheap shots. Shots. Number 2 of Ninja Gaiden. Fear the birds. While initially appearing innocuous, these birds deal a whopping 3 damage and fly in a seemingly very erratic pattern. It is rather infamous. While I do agree the damage is ridiculous, every bird in this game can actually be pretty easily manipulated, unlike other enemies I mentioned, who function more in RNG. On the other hand, bosses are really easy in this game, but I think that's a good thing. After all, the stages are pretty tough, so it's nice to have a breather at the There's a certain joy in carrying the spin slash all the way to the end and watching it rip through the bosses. Nintendo hard. Of course, the bosses aren't too difficult without it either. For example, you can literally just walk up to Malf and slash him with your sword. You will always kill him before he kills you. It gives you a good idea of the difficulty of this game's bosses. The only boss that gives me a bit of trouble is the boss of Stage 3, which is that guy that steals the statue. Rule number 1 of Ninja Gaiden. That guy that steals the statue. Actually hit him. Plus, Stage 3 doesn't have any spin slash, so you can't just instantly one-shot him. The stages themselves are usually pretty short. The time limit of 2.5 minutes, which is more than enough time to complete each stage. I have a time over in this game. Stages are also very well designed. The music gets your heart racing, and the stage feels really fun to pull off. It's a straight shot to the end where you're just slashing through every single enemy you see. Plus, it's right when the difficulty goes into full swing. It's one of the most satisfying stages to do once you understand what you're doing and just, It's very good in this game for both cutscenes and, stages. Some of the music is reused.
Dinner.
I don't really see an issue with it since they're usually spread out, so they feel fresh when they're used. With one exception. Most tracks that are reused play in 2 stages, but the Stage 1 theme gets reused in both Stage 5-2 and Stage 6-3. It's a minor referred to in the legend. Statues combine to form the true final boss.
My butt.
Jashin is certainly an imposing enemy. He's easily the largest boss in the game. He is also a unique take on the formula, having multiple farts. He's also unique, having multiple parts that must be destroyed in order to damage him. The main target is his heart, and it's protected by his head and tail. They kiss and the girl reveals her name as
Captain Rescue!
Then they watch the sunrise together. And, well, that was Ninja Gaiden. A challenging game, very frustrating. It actually was very annoying. I think I'll give this game an 8 out of 10. It's a great game. and gameplay. This is a must-have for any NES owner. And it's relatively inexpensive too. So don't forget to Speaking of, I'd like to give a special thanks to Dr. Small. He's a good friend of mine you may have seen in a couple other of my videos, and he actually gifted me this cartridge. If it weren't for him, well, I'd still probably do this video.
I'm so mad.